Today I'm going to be retelling the folktale story of Vasilissa the Beautiful. A long time ago, in an isolated village deep in a dense forest, lived a merchant, his wife, and their only daughter, Vasilissa. The daughter was known as Vasilissa the Beautiful by her parents and the villagers because of her physical beauty and her kindness she gave toward everyone she knew and met. When Vasilissa reached 10 years old, her mother fell gravely ill. As Vasilissa sat by her mother's side during her final days, she handed Vasilissa a small wooden doll from her bedside table and said, "My sweet daughter, remember well what I say. I leave you my blessing in this doll. Always keep it with you, but never show it to anyone. When you are in trouble, give the doll something to eat and drink, tell it your worries, and it will help you solve your problems." After Vasilissa and her father grieved for her mother's passing, the merchant sought out a new wife that would be a loving foster mother for Vasilissa. He soon married a widow with 2 daughters of her own, who he thought would be kind to Vasilissa, but unfortunately he was wrong. The stepmother was a gaunt, cruel woman who married the merchant for his wealth and was not interested at all in caring for Vasilissa. The stepmother and sisters became jealous of Vasilissa's beauty, so they sent Vasilissa off on difficult errands and gave her grueling tasks so that her beauty would diminish over time. However, the opposite occurred, and while Vasilissa grew more beautiful over time, the stepsisters became more homely. The little doll was a great help to Vasilissa during these difficult times. Every night before she went to bed, Vasilissa would lock her bedroom door and take the doll out of her pocket, give it something to eat and drink, and say, "Little doll, eat a bit and drink a bit, and listen to my worries. My stepmother wishes to break my spirit and drive me from my home. What should I do?" The doll's eyes would light up like stars as it came to life, and would comfort Vasilissa, tell her what to do, and help her complete her tasks. Then there came a day when the merchant departed on a long trip to another kingdom. As soon as the merchant left, the stepmother moved the family to a home at the edge of the forest, where she sent Vasilissa into the forest on errands, hoping that she would not return. This did not work, so the stepmother concocted another plan. One evening, the woman gave each of the girls a task to complete. The stepsisters were given knitting to do, while Vasilissa was given a basket of flax to spin into thread and a single candle lighted where they worked. After working hours into the night, one of the sisters put out the candle, acting as if it was by accident. "What do we do now?" exclaimed the sister. "There is no other light to be found in the house. We must go and borrow fire from the forest witch, Baba Yaga." The sisters held up their shining knitting needles and proclaimed, "We have enough light from our metal needles to complete our work. Vasilissa, you must be the one to retrieve the fire, because you cannot see to spin your thread." So they soon stood up and roughly pushed Vasilissa outside while locking the door behind her, one of them adding, "You cannot come back until you fetch the fire." Though fearful of what may happen, Vasilissa compliantly made her way through the thick woods until she reached a small clearing. The sight before her gave her chills. Mere feet in front of her stood a fence made of human limb bones, and topped with skulls, with a gate locked with interlocking sharp-toothed jaws. Within the fence stood a decrepit little house standing on 4 enormous chicken legs. Suddenly the skulls flickered and began emitting an eerie light as the trees began to bend and moan out of the forest. Flew Baba Yaga. She cackled wickedly as she landed her mortar and pestle and spoke to the hut. "Turn your face to me and away from the woods, my house." And the house promptly did as she asked. Then she sniffed the air and cried, "Ah ha ha! I smell a human close by. Who is it?" Vasilissa burst from the forest and curtsied to the witch, saying, "It is I, Vasilissa, coming to borrow fire from you." "Oh, very well, I will grant you fire, but only if you work at my house and pay for it. Otherwise I will eat you for dinner," Baba Yaga exclaimed. Vasilissa cautiously followed Baba Yaga into her house, and was soon ordered to collect all of the food out of her oven, which Baba Yaga hungrily gulped down, leaving only a small amount for Vasilissa. After filling her belly, Baba Yaga turned to the girl and said, "Listen closely, and do these chores tomorrow while I am away. Clean the yard, cook my dinner, and separate all of the dirt out of my stores of wheat. If you can do this, I will give you a light, but if you cannot, I will devour you." And then the witch crashed on her bed and began to snore loudly as she slept. Vasilisa scurried over to the wall and repeated the nightly ritual with her doll and spoke, "I'm trapped in the house of Forest Witch, and she's given me difficult tasks that if I don't complete, she will gobble me up as her supper. What should I do?" The doll's eyes filled with a soft light and said, "Sleep, and do worry not, Vasilisa, and all will be well in the morning." So Vasilisa took the doll's advice and fell into a sound sleep. She awoke before daybreak the next morning, and as the sun began to peek over the trees, Baba Yaga grabbed her pestle and rocketed away in her mortar beyond the trees. Vasilisa quickly went to the yard to begin her tasks, but soon found that the house had been swept, the yard cleared, and then she found her doll sitting among the wheat bags, picking out the last of the dirt from the wheat. Vasilisa swept up the dolls into her arms and said, "You have saved me from a cruel fate, my doll. Now I only have to cook Baba Yaga's supper." She then spent the rest of the day preparing the witch's large dinner. Soon the trees began to sway and groan as Baba Yaga approached and asked Vasilisa, "Have you finished all the tasks I assigned you?" "See for yourself," answered the girl. The witch carefully inspected everything in her home, but she couldn't find a single thing to complain about. Begrudgingly impressed, Baba Yaga sighed. "You've done well, but let me ask you how you were able to complete these tasks in such a little amount of time." Knowing that she couldn't mention the doll, Vasilisa instead said, "My mother's blessing always helps me." "Bah! No one with a blessing upon them is welcome in my house. Leave!" she screeched as she shoved Vasilisa out the door and thrust a burning-eyed skull into her hand. "Take this light to your step-family so that they may enjoy its warmth." Vasilisa ran from the little hut as quickly as her legs allowed her, and she stuck the skull on the end of a stick to light her way through the forest at night. As she reached her home, Vasilisa was sure that her step-family had already found fire for the house. However, as soon as Vasilisa left for Baba Yaga's home, an enchantment persisted over the house that caused any light that entered that would be snuffed out. As Vasilisa crossed the threshold with the skull still lit, the stepmother joyfully welcomed Vasilisa, exclaiming, "Maybe the witch's light will not go out," and placed the skull upon the candlestick. But then the skull began emitting a harsh red light that followed the stepmother and stepsisters no matter where they ran, and burned hotter and hotter until poof, they burned to ash, and only Vasilisa remained. In the morning, Vasilisa buried the skull in the forest, and as she returned home, she noticed that her father had returned from his long journey. Vasilisa and her father embraced each other. They each told of what had happened during their journeys. And from then on, Vasilisa lived contentedly for the rest of her days, and the small wooden doll remained snugly in her pocket. The end.